Live button says we are live. All right.
Yay!
We are live with 10 minutes to go. And
So I passed out on the couch again last night.
oh, that's a good place to pass out.
I now have 2 new spider bites.
I would suggest not sleeping on your couch anymore.
Yeah, probably.
Either that
They're
or
so comfy.
either that or find out where the spiders are hiding in your couch and fucking vacuum the little bastards up.
That is the next step, yes, to vacuum and go gather a bunch of chestnuts, drill some holes in the chestnuts, and just tuck them into all the crevices of the couch.
Yeah.
Hang them up on the wall behind the couch.
Yes. I would suggest, if you're getting spider bites on your couch, that they're hiding in there somewhere, and you're like,
I'm the
oh,
only
free
one
food.
who gets them too. Everyone else sleeps on the couch and they're fine. It's only me.
Ah, well, they like you.
Apparently. So do the fleas. The fleas, the spiders, pretty much anything that has more than 4 legs that bites seems to like me.
Well, not always the best thing.
No, it sucks. Although, because I've been bitten by spiders so often since I moved into this place, I do seem to be developing an immunity to the spider toxin. Because last couple of times I got bit by a spider, it made me really uncomfortable, as spider bites always have. Today, I've been bitten twice. No big deal, really, just swollen.
No.
So I'm developing an immunity to the toxin. This is a bonus.
Yeah, I suppose that's a bonus.
It is, because I've always had an issue with spider bites. Like, I remember at one point I would swell up, the entire half of my body would swell up if I got bitten by a spider. So
No, all you need is one to give you superpowers.
that would be awesome.
Start climbing up the side of buildings and go invent yourself a new web machine so you can shoot webs.
You know what's really sad? As a mother, if you get superpowers, the first thing that comes to your mind is, I could clean my house and I wouldn't be tired.
Yeah, well, I guess there's that problem. As minor as it is.
Hey man, it takes a super powered person to clean the house, keep up with all of the other chores like the making the food and keeping the kids on track for school, and then also doing all the things outside the home, plus doing all the things for your work, like keeping everything totally balanced and totally up to date.
Yeah.
That takes a super person, because nobody can do that. Most
can.
people have like a day a week that they clean their house.
Yep. And that's why there used to be what was called partnerships, and one partner went out and worked and brought in all the other stuff, the other stayed home and took care of all the home shit.
Yeah, unfortunately that's
The world doesn't work like that anymore, because the world has made it so that everybody needs to work.
Therefore, superpowers would be totally awesome, because you could do everything. Ooh, like super speed superpower? That'd be so helpful. Could you imagine the look on your kid's face if you had super speed power and they weren't doing their chores, so you just did use the super speed to move them to their chores?
Yep.
That'd be fun. Shocked look on kids' faces are always fun.
Well, absolutely. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we're probably going to miss a few people. that
Yeah,
might show up
unfortunately, but the recording will be here.
The recording afterwards will be here just fine. It will survive. We got the usual line of stuff here today. All kinds of random stuff. Then I get out of here. I get out of here an hour early to go up to the Oasis.
Yay! I gotta get my partner to his appointment.
I gotta get up and gotta do a few things and prep. I've got a whole bunch of plants to transplant. My tomatoes are up. I gotta get them transplanted into bigger pots, along with a lot of cabbages and broccolis and all the other things. I gotta get them all moved into bigger pots. Even my peppers, I got a bunch of peppers up that I think are gonna have to go. I don't know, I haven't been there in 5 days now.
Are you growing mint at all?
Mint? Mint's a fucking weed.
Yes, I know it's a weed, but mint is also something that is highly sought after by a lot of people.
Yeah, anyone who buys, well, I probably could grow, but anyone who buys mint in a pot is fucking warped. It's like,
or they don't have the ability to grow it from seed, which I still have a hard time growing.
You don't even
things
grow it
from
from seed. You find somebody that's got mint. You pinch a few pieces off of it, and you stuff them in water. 2 weeks later, they have roots, and you stuff them in soil. Mint is so
Yeah.
bloody plurific. Plurific?
Mint is a special kind of plant. However, there are lots of people who have a hard time growing things.
Yes, well.
So having little baby mint plants is actually a decent idea. Also, if you have baby mint plants, then it could snag one. Because I don't have the amount of sunlight that mint it requires to start sprouting. But once the mint is going, it doesn't care where it lives. It just needs the sunlight to start sprouting. I don't get sunlight.
Yes, well, that's what happens when you got a north-facing apartment.
Not to mention a whole bunch of giant trees right outside where the sun would come in if only there weren't giant trees.
What little sun does come in the north? Very little comes in the north. You have a north, actually, I think you have a northeast-facing apartment.
Northeast, and then a bunch of giant trees. So my lovely giant trees, which are so pretty to look at, I'm also learning now that we've had some somewhat sunny days.
Yep.
Those trees don't let any sunshine in. I won't be able to grow anything.
And on that happy note, it's time for some music and carry us to showtime.
In search for glory, gone with them sacred rules of old. They went missing down Highway 49. Devils at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Preacher man discovered, passed down from saint to sage, like a kind-hearted lover who's been lost on this stage. Went missing down Highway 49. Devils at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Not saying they're right or wrong. I ain't no Texan dancer, the world moves me right along. Went missing down Highway 49. Devils at the crossroads, sitting doing time. Chucky and the jigger, the scene who done the crime. The captain pulled the trigger, guess who's doing time? They went missing down Highway 49. Devils at the crossroads, is he yours or is he mine? It's most definitely mine.
'tis time. Show time it be. All right, let's just wind this puppy up and get the show on the road.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
Lighting the way for WordPress plugins. It's episode 545, and we have plugins for memory display, Gotham light, searching terms, replacing edits, Rando RSS, Click 5 history, and ClassicPress options, all coming up on WordPress plugins from A to Z.
WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gem? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress plugins from A to Z.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you direct from the brewery overlook in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever-lovely
Amber overall.
And we have a great show for you. Before we get too far down the road, finally, after 2 weeks, I finally got my kids all healthy and off to school. I'm feeling much better. It is really happy to see that they're going back out into the world again. It's been a long 2 extra weeks after Christmas break this year. And also, don't forget, this is a value for value show. If you're getting any value out of it, folks, kick some value back in multiple ways we will discuss later. Also, before we get too far, don't forget you can hang around to the end of the show where Amber does a Q&A segment, asks me a bunch of silly questions, and we have a lot of fun with it.
They're not silly.
Sometimes they are. Anyway.
Okay.
Sometimes when we have a lot of fun with it, we just hang it out, and it is split into two parts. Those that listen here on the podcast download, and those that come over to YouTube to catch the rest of it. And it's sometimes an entertaining bit after that part of the show. All right, with all of that being said, I guess it's time for me to...
Thank you for sharing, John. Now get down from that soapbox.
Seriously, I need to get a copy of that on my phone so I can just randomly play it at you. This is number 4 of 52 episodes for 2022. I don't know about everyone else out there, but like Dad was just mentioning about his kids getting the flu, we just got through the flu too. So we missed last week. Still dealing with a little bit of the cough that's lingering, but otherwise we're all healthy again, which is good. Hopefully everyone out there is remembering to take their vitamin C and drink some good tea. I don't know if people out there know this, but bay leaves are actually really awesome to put in your tea. They don't really add any flavor, but they are chock full of vitamin C themselves. Put a few of those in there and they have all these health benefits. Really cool. And remember, mental health is also a really big part of your physical health. So make sure you give yourself a break from all the drama llamas and the socials. Give yourself a break from the news. The news is doom and gloom, and spend some good quality time with family and friends. Pull out your dusty board games and play a few rounds of Snakes and Ladders or Monopoly or chess or something. And just go for a walk. The quality time will do your brain wonders, and you will actually start to feel better for it. Mental health is definitely linked to your physical health. Rinse and repeat as often as needed.
Absolutely.
Please, can everybody be quiet? Please be quiet. Shut up! Thank you. And now the WordPress news with John Overall.
Whatever.
Okay, so the first one I have is this week's Ithemes WordPress Vulnerability Report for January 26, 2022. The ones that you need to worry about this time around are the following. The buffer button, translation exchange, translate your WordPress site in minutes, lean WP profile grid, user registration, login and landing pages, and that's it for this week. So there's not too many. Most of them are pretty good. You'll also want to go through these, the ones that have the green there, because if you look at the green, the reason why they're even on here is because they've been checked, they had an issue, and now they've been fixed.
Yeah. Well.
So make sure you go through those and see if ones that you've already deactivated in the past, maybe they have their fix now. Check that out. The ones with the red, those are the ones that you want to deactivate. None of these ones actually say deactivate and delete, so that means that they are working on a fix, which is good news.
Yep. You still want to consider deactivating it until the fix is in, though.
I also brought last week's WordPress vulnerability report because of being sick last week, we didn't make it, so I figured I'd bring last week's report as well. There's only 2 plugins that were a worry for last week's report, so it's a good list, as in not many wrong. The 2 that are on here are Random Banner and Spider Calendar.
Never heard of them.
Me either. But again, these ones say to deactivate. They don't say delete.
Yeah.
So they are working on a fix for it.
Cool. Oh. Go ahead.
The next one is over 90 WordPress themes and plugins backdoored in supply chain attack. So we had a massive supply chain attack that has compromised 40 themes and 53 plugins in WordPress, giving them a backdoor granting full access to the websites. The issue is a PHP backdoor. This was discovered by Jetpack. This article goes through and tells you how to tell if you are affected, and gives you the link to check the complete list of fixed products. So this is definitely something that you will want to look at.
Well, it's been a while since a backdoor attack has happened. They happen I wouldn't say semi-regularly, but they do happen often enough to be a problem, and it's been a while. Whose plugins are these?
That, I wasn't able to find very specific information. It seems to be a little bit of everyone's, is what I'm understanding, but it doesn't seem right. I couldn't find the very specific information.
93, 40 themes, 53 plugins belonging to ClassicPress.
Oh, there we go.
ClassicPress plugins. Okay, I don't use any of their plugins. So basically what happened is ClassicPress, where of course they have their own repository of shit, somebody hacked into there and compromised their entire fucking suite. That's bad news for them. That's going to impact their business for a while. Sometimes when I see that stuff, I think it's industrial espionage more than I do it as actual bad hackers.
Well, it makes sense.
You know, you want to take down your competition in the plugin development world, make it look like their plugins are insecure.
Anyway, seems to be a very popular month for hacking, because the next one I have up here is WordPress plugin flaw puts users of 20,000 sites at phishing risk.
WP-HTML plugin. I've used that somewhere in the distant past. I seem to recall it. I don't think I use it anymore.
Well, this flaw has to do with the code injection.
Yep.
So, so I'm just reading my notes here so I can try to condense it, because I just wrote a whole bunch. The vulnerability was discovered by WordFence in December 23rd, 2021, but they only heard back from the plugin creators on January 10th, 2022.
Wow.
There's been an update, so that was released on January 13th. So if you use this plugin, make sure you get your update done.
Yeah, well, sometimes it takes them a while to figure out how to plug the hole.
Yep.
All right.
Next one up is 3 WordPress plugins with the same bug, putting 84K WordPress sites at risk. So the 3 are Login Sign Up Pop-Up, Sidecart WooCommerce, and Waitlist WooCommerce. The issue found in these 3 plugins has to do with where the plugins registered the save settings function. It's initiated by an Ajax, which in these 3 plugins, the function was missing a nonce check, which meant that there was no validation on the integrity of who is conducting the request. So it's got a nasty little bug that they have since patched it. So if you use any of these, make sure that you update them.
Absolutely.
January was a very busy month.
Yeah, well, the hackers had nothing to do over the holidays.
True. The next one up is WordPress 5.9 Josephine has been released, and it introduces full site editing and new 2022 as a default theme.
Yeah, wait a couple weeks before doing updating to that, folks. See what's going to break.
Yeah. Just to go through it a little bit, it is pretty cool. I like the fact that it was named after a jazz singer, Josephine Baker.
Every single version of WordPress released is named after a jazz singer.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's really cool.
Since version 1, it's been named after a jazz singer because Mullenweg is a jazz fan. And he's been naming them after jazz singers since the very first ones. Some of them jazz singers I actually knew. So...
Oh, well, hey, can't fault his taste in music.
No, can't fault his taste in music. I just fault him for many other fucking idiot shit. No, he's got good taste in music. I'll give him that.
With this new theme comes the first ever block-based default theme. It has pre-designed color palettes and patterns, and the ability to combine and create. That seems to be the biggest excitement about this new thing.
Yeah.
So
probably time to just completely wipe my memory of everything I know about WordPress and start all over again.
Pretty much. Definitely wait a little while before you update, though, because we don't know entirely everything that's going to break yet.
No, there's going to be lots of interesting breaks in this, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll start hearing about them next week.
Let the eager people update first and then talk to them.
Those that like being on the bleeding edge of technology. I used to be on the bleeding edge of technology, but I got tired of the constant learning curve.
The next one I have, last one of these for today, is Gutenberg 12.4 includes accessibility improvements, categories reminder, and a tag cloud outline style. So for the Gutenberg users out there, this is exciting news. Although there does appear to be a new bug inside the site editor. When opening the block inserter, its scroll bar does not appear.
Well, that kind of sucks.
And something I wanted to mention is, for anyone listening, if you use Gutenberg, I'd love to hear your take on what you think about Gutenberg. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear about it.
Gutenberg is the plugin that are being developed, and they're slipping the information into the core code of WordPress, which is why WordPress is now Gutenberg. Gutenberg is the plugin that started all, and Gutenberg is if you want to be on the true bleeding edge, you install the Gutenberg plugin to get all the stuff that they're going to be advancing into the core later.
Yeah.
So.
But I would love to hear other people's take on it.
Yeah.
So, write to me. And then we have the extras. In the extras, we have a story about 9-year-olds hacking and attacking their schools with DDoS attacks.
Oh, I wouldn't know any 9-year-olds that would do something that crazy. Yay for young 9-year-olds attacking and learning to hack at an early age.
Yeah, the cybercrime police were a little surprised when they traced the DDoS attacks back to a group of 9-year-olds.
Good. All right, well, we'll leave that one play. List off a few of the others, and then we will pop ourselves into the fun stuff.
Brave versus DuckDuckGo, which is the best privacy browser for Android. And EV charging stations can be hacked.
Who would have thunk?
Also, which of the various NASA experiments turned into products here on Earth? Whole bunch of interesting stuff in the extra news.
Tang! Astronaut ice cream. There you go. Those are the two best ones. All right. I think it's time for us to go acknowledge those that support this show.
It's time to donate to WP Plugins A to Z.
Absolutely. This is where we like to acknowledge those that support the show with their time, talent, and treasure. You know, and that time, talent, and treasure really helps the show out. And we like to first start off by acknowledging this week's artwork. We have an artist return back to the fold. Angel Lemieux has provided a very cool piece of art of a pilot fish with its little light going on deep in the ocean, sucking down everything it can about WordPress.
I I really do like this picture. It's awesome.
I really do. I do. I like the other thing he's done too. I didn't realize it was him at first until you pointed out, but I like the change in the headline to the Classic WordPress Plugins podcast. That's kind of a nice change. I like that. That's a little bit better. That's a little bit more concise and a little bit better for it. And I do like this one here. This one's just kind of cool with the WordPress logo lighting the way for the fish. Kind of a cool one. And there's some really creepy stuff down in the deep depths of the ocean. I remember when I was going to college and I got to go tour one of the cable ships.
Oh, cool.
The ships that repair and maintain the cables that cross the Pacific Ocean. And I wish I could find them, but they gave me dozens of photos from the deep depths where the cables are of the creepy, crazy critters that are down there. And I've got them on a hard drive somewhere, but I just can't seem to find them. I keep looking for them from time to time because they are just downright creepy. So there's some really strange stuff in the deep depths of the ocean.
There really is.
All right. So thanks a lot, Angel. We greatly appreciate you coming back to the fold and giving us some new artwork and starting to challenge the dominion of Greg. So... At least we get a couple of artists fighting it out. It'd be cool if we started to get several artists fighting it out each week for art.
I would love to see more art coming in. That would be so awesome.
Yeah, and this art gets changed up every single week. We change the artwork for the show, and we showcase it now with our art directory. The art directory has been cleaned up, and all the old art has been added to the directory. Thanks to Jess for that. Someone who devoted some time to the show, so thank you very much, Jess, for cleaning that up and getting all that up so you can go look up all that old art. And let's see where we go. We got to go close this one here. There we go. Close that view, and you'll see the main gallery, and then there's an old gallery underneath. So we got 97 pages of all the old artwork going way back a couple of years now.
That's amazing. Thanks, Jess.
So thanks a lot, Jess, for getting it in there. And unfortunately, we couldn't give the label to the proper artist because of the way the plugin works. If you see your artwork in there and get us a note, we will add notes to the artwork so someone can see whose art it really is. All right? But going forward, all the artists have to put the artwork direct into the gallery, and so they get their proper credits. All right, so thank you very much to all the artists out there. We also do like to acknowledge that we have a segment here that is reserved for executive producers who donate $50 or more to the show. You get a note read out, a credit that you can use anywhere credits are at, and we'll see those again one day, I'm sure. But in the meantime, we do have a few people that come in with a few bucks under 50, a few bucks here, a few bucks there. Thank you very much for those small donations. They really do help us out and make us feel like someone actually cares. So we do appreciate that and the donations there. And then, of course, there's the time component, which we talked about with Jess supporting us. We have other things that this show could do with time. We just got to get some volunteers to help us out with their time, and really would be great for the show. At any rate, thank you very much to everyone who supports the show with their time, talent, or treasure. It is time now for us to dive into the depths of plugin depravity, into what everyone shows up to the show for. All right. We don't have anything for ClassicPress. We're still kind of monitoring over there at ClassicPress to see what they're up to. They're making slow strides now after the big strides in the very beginning. So they'll keep moving forward at a nice slow snail steady pace until they suddenly break through. And I think they'll do really well when they finally break through. But we are keeping them here. And if you happen to be a ClassicPress user who shows up to the show, hey, send us some info. We would happily share it with everyone on the show. All right, into the WordPress plugins. The first one I have for you today is called Server IP and Memory Usage Display. This is a nice little simple plugin for when you're doing development and you need a little bit of information about what your server's IP might be, how much memory is being used by your system, your plugins, etc. This is a simple plugin to just plug in, turn on, and then in the footer, it dumps out the information you need. It just tells you, what the memory usage is out of how much is allocated for your site, what the IP address is of your server, what PHP you're running, and a few other little tidbits to help you out. Very useful tool to help you determine where things might be going wrong, if you're running out of memory, other little etc. problems that still occur today when you're working on developing in WordPress. Great little tool, something I thought was very useful for everyone. Go check it out. It's the Server IP and Memory Usage Display plugin, and I give it a 4 Dragon rating.
That does sound like a useful thing to add to your repertoire. First one I have is Block Editor Search and Replace. Now, if you're an editor and you have to go and fix things up before you post the thing, this will be endlessly useful for you. I know there's been quite a few times when I wish that this was in WordPress when I'm doing editing. Essentially, you take this plugin, you put it in, it's a plug and play, and then once it's activated, you will have the little search and replace section show up in your editing area. You don't have to do anything, there's no settings or anything, it just shows up and it's ready to go. It doesn't work for things like Elementor, it only works in the actual WordPress, but that's fine because that's where most of us end up doing our editing anyway when we're doing posts and stuff, like basic ones.
Yep.
Very useful, works really well. I give it a 5 Dragon rating.
Too cool. All right, next one I have for you is the Gotham Block Extra Light.
Every time I read that title, I think of Batman.
Yep. Well, that's why I think they meant to. Batman comes to save the day. What this plugin is for is it is one that detects if people are visiting your website with an ad blocker software running. And what it's for is, of course, there are many people out there that are still on the advertising model for making money on their website. And there's tons of people out there that have installed ad blocking software into their browsers to block the ads because, let's face it, they're annoying if they're used incorrectly on a website. I don't mind them most of the time, but some websites just overdo it to the end where you can't even read what's on the site, and I just abandon it.
Yeah.
You know, but what this does, this gives you 3 levels of monitoring and how aggressive you want to get with the people that are visiting your site that have ad blocker. You know, you've got the level 1, a pop-up to inform the user that their ad blocking kills your business model, and the message will be displayed every so many minutes or hours or days that they're visiting your website. You know, they can close the pop-up and continue on your site, but you know, it's a reminder. It's like, hey man, you know, you're getting free information, at least allow me to make a buck or two off of your eyeballs. Level 2, this informs the user that the ad blocking kills your business model. Again, the message will appear on every page load as long as the user's on your website. So it'll pop up until they turn off their ad blocker. Level 3 is the big one. This one pops up and tells them that, hey, you've got an ad blocker, and the message will appear on every page load, and they won't be able to navigate your site as long as the ad blocker software is activated. So this one here is pretty aggressive to say, hey, look, you've got an ad blocker. If you don't turn off your ad blocker, you can't read the content that's here, period. So it's kind of a cool one that's very useful, and one that if you're using an ad software or if you're still on the advertising model for making money on your website, this could be a way to encourage those people who come to your website with ad blocking software and your ads never get displayed so you don't make money. So anyway, go check this one out if it's of interest to you. It's called the Gotham Block Extra Light, and I give it a 5 Dragon rating.
Next one I have here is RandomRSS. This plugin is a cool thing for those that do auto blogging, which I don't know much about the auto blogging. I only know the absolute basics, but I saw this and thought it could be very useful. What it does is it uses the RSS feed and it features up to 10 posts selected at random with optional filtering parameters. For those who are unfamiliar, you can't just plug this one in and have it work. You have to use this in tandem with an auto blogging plugin that supports RSS aggregation. Then you use new RSS campaign using the URL of a random RSS feed. There's a lot to it, but this definitely does help. It gets it on there. And these guys are pretty cool. They suggest a plugin to match them a couple plugins to match them that work best with this plugin. The first one they mention, you gotta pay for it, but the second one they mention is totally free. And they mention it because the two work really well in tandem. So definitely worth checking out, and it is totally free itself. I rate this at 5 dragons.
Very cool. I vaguely remember auto blogging. I think I did that years ago before search engines changed, and it doesn't benefit you in many ways anymore. The internet's changed. No, not really. It's a lazy man's way of putting content out, and it works. I think I'll just wait until the AI completely takes over and just writes the world for us. Tells us what the world tells us what our world is. The AI is almost there. Won't be long now. Pretty soon, our AI overlords will come down, and we can all just go out to the garden and grow things.
I don't think it'll be an issue until the AI can figure out how to make music.
Oh, the AI is working on music.
Oh, I know, and its version of music is disturbing.
Not always. There's
and entertaining.
I've had some cheap AI stuff and things that have invented occasional songs that sound kind of okay. So, all right. Next one I have for you here is highlight search terms. This is a nice, pretty straightforward plugin that you want to use on your site, and it's a very useful one because, I use my search function on my website an awful lot when I'm looking for stuff on a lot of websites, and sometimes I just jump right to the search function to look for what I'm looking for. And the nice thing about this is once you got it activated and installed, what it does is when it brings up the search results, it highlights the terms in the search results so that people can quickly scan through and see if the results match. When they're searching for words, see if the words match something in context that will work. Also, when they load the next page from the results, the terms are highlighted in the post. So it's a very cool, very useful tool to help make your search function a little bit better on your website, to make it easier for your users to find what they're looking for when they are searching your website. Go check this one out. And I give it a 4 dragon rating, and it's the highlight search terms.
Sorry, one.
Your turn. You started coughing.
Yes, I started coughing. Sorry.
You're not supposed to swallow and drink or swallow and breathe at the same time.
Yes, well, but my tea tastes so good.
Yes, but inhaling it into your lungs really doesn't help.
Yeah, I'll try to remember that.
Yeah.
The last one I have here is History Log by Click5. This is a very useful plugin that keeps a record of user activity on your site. It's a plug and play, no settings or anything to deal with, and essentially it creates, it does create a shortcut on the left-hand sidebar for you, so you can get there at any point in time. It will give you a list of important events that occur in your site, like when plugins have been updated or changed. Though you have the option to filter down to only events of your interest, so you don't have to pick through everything that's been going on when all you want to do is use this to troubleshoot specific items. You end up with a report page of post changes, menu updates, taxonomies, core and theme and plugin updates, and you are able to get information on particular plugins as well. I can see this being very useful, definitely worth a look at the price of free. So I rate this at 5 dragons.
Plugins like this are especially useful when you're building out a site for a client who likes to be hands-on in their stuff. And you find that you've done something and the client comes in and undoes something or changes something and then denies it. And so this is a really great way to track what's going on. Very useful tool.
Red. Hi, Kim. I'm not sure what Vom Red means, though.
Neither am I. Okay. Well, that covers up all the plugins we've got for you this week. We don't have any listener feedback or questions or anything else. And contests, we don't have a contest yet. We've got to get those reorganized and brought back to the fold. We'll see if we can get those organized in the next month or two. We've had lots of contests, and I am doing an interview this next week with a plugin developer, so I'll talk to them about giving away a plugin. and we might have one coming up. That means it'll be my first interview show in quite some time. I'm looking forward to doing that. And we need to cover up a couple of other quick things here before we head on into the Q&A segment. Plugins, we covered this episode. I covered up the server IP and memory usage display, which I gave a 4 to. The Gotham block extra light, which I gave a 5 to. And the highlight search terms, which I gave a 4 to.
And I covered block editor search and replace, which I rated at 5. RandomRSS, which I rated at 5, and history log by click 5, which I also rated at 5. Oh, yeah, I gave all 5s today.
You gave away a whole slew of aces.
I did.
All right. Other quick reminders. As I said, there's an interview show coming up next week. I'll be interviewing the plugin developer, and it'll be good. If you're a plugin author out there, or you know some plugin authors and they'd like to be interviewed, head on over to wpplugins.com/interview and book your time slot for an interview with me. And we will get that into a separate show. It's a separate show that's tossed into the podcast feed for interviews. All right. That pretty much is it. It is time for us to...
It's question and answer time.
Whatever.
First off, if anyone out there has any questions they'd like to have asked on the show, send them in to me at amber@wppro.ca, and we'll get them answered to the best of our ability. So my first question is, when you're working in my PHP, how do you know whether or not a database is active?
What do you mean? If it's in the PHP MyAdmin, or it's listed in there as a database, it's an active database. What do you mean?
Okay, so there's no way to have something in there where it would not be active. So everyone that's in there is active.
Yeah, they're active databases. Whether they're actively being used or not is another thing.
Okay, how can you tell if they're actively being used?
You go look into the config file of your WordPress website to see which database it's actively using.
Okay, that is good to know.
Because there'll be times where, and I'm really piss poor at sometimes cleaning up my mess, but I'll have to duplicate a database for something, and just so I can run some tests or some cleanup or other, and then I'll forget to delete that database, so it'll be left behind in their list of databases, and it's not active. Nothing's attached to it.
I see.
So the only way to know which database is being used by your WordPress site is to pop into the WP config file, look to see what database is being used, go back to your PHP MyAdmin and look for the name of the database that's listed in the WP config file. And that's your active database for the website.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
Next 3 questions have to do with when you're moving files for creating a dev site or updating or what have you.
Okay.
What happens to tables that you need... wow, I didn't write this question very well. Hang on. What happens to the tables that causes you to need to clean them?
Okay, so you're talking about the database here, and the database overhead and other stuff. Well, you got to remember, every time you access your WordPress website, or other people access it, or you create a new post, or you make a change in the back end, all that data is stored in your database. And the data is written out and then written back to the database or the hard drive. Well, the database, sometimes it'll write extra data in there that is transient data or temporary data, and then it doesn't always clean up that transient or temporary data, so it causes the table to accumulate an overhead of extra content that's not actually being used and just needs to be wiped out. Also, you've got the problem of ones and zeros. They take up, every byte is a 1 or a 0. But sometimes it'll take 8 bytes to write something that, once it's fully saved, is only 5 bytes long. Because every space is a byte, and that data can accumulate. So periodically you need to run a repair and clean on the tables, and it cleans up all the unnecessary junk.
That was actually my next question is what does cleaning tables actually do? I think I meant to put down what does repairing tables actually do? Like what is going on when you tell it to repair?
Cleaning and repairing tables, what's going on is programs going in there, it's looking for all the extra space that's been crammed in there and removing all the extra spaces, all the unused junk, all the stuff that is transient crap, and compressing the data back down into its proper form and then cleaning it up. It's also looking for any errors in the database table and repairing those errors for you.
Okay. My last question is, what happens if you don't repair the tables before telling them to copy over?
All right, well, we'll come back and clarify that one up a little bit after we let our girl take us on out of here.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at wppluginsaToZ.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsaToZ.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using wppluginsaToZ.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencast and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WPPluginsAtoZ. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
Alrighty. Alright, so clarify this question a bit. What happens if you don't repair the tables before telling them to copy over? Alright, this is along the lines of if you're in the cPanel of your website into the WP admin controls for your databases, and you needed to duplicate a database, or even to download a backup copy of your database from within inside there. One of the first things you want to do is you want to go in and do a clean and repair on your data tables. The reason you want to do it before copying them over or before downloading the backup is it helps ensure that you get a clean copy with no corruption in it. Because those overhead in there, in those tables, you could have corruption in there that's just not being noticed yet. And by cleaning and repairing everything, you clean up, you ensure the tables are compacted down, all the data is cleaned, it's wiped, it's properly set, situated, reorganized, all of the magic that goes on behind the screens. I have no idea what magic goes on. I push a button, magic happens. That's all I really know. And if you don't do it, you face the possibility of corrupt data. And I've done it in the past, and it has corrupted data when it copies it over. Don't ask me why. It's just the way the magic of computers and data transfer works.
Okay. Here's a question that's not written down. If you end up, if you, hang on, let me organize my thoughts. There we go. Would it be a good idea to go in and repair your tables periodically, just in general, just to keep that corrupted data at bay? It's
something that I used to do whenever I did manual backups of websites. When I did manual backups on websites regularly, that was one of the first things I did. I would do it. Plus, I also, if a website is having loading issues, that's one of the first things I do is go make sure the database is cleaned and repaired.
Okay.
Because sometimes a loading issue on a website is nothing more than a database corruption. You remember,
Good to know.
everything in WordPress is contained in that database except for the images themselves. That's the only thing that's not contained in the database for WordPress is the images and the core files that are required to deliver the content. Everything else on a WordPress website is contained in the database. That's why the database is your most important thing. Everyone's always worried about backing up all their files. It's like, no, you need to back up your database more than anything else. You can often duplicate all those files easily enough, but you can't duplicate the database if it goes bad. Because there is no way to retrieve a corrupted database. I've tried.
Oh, really?
Yeah, once a database gets fully corrupted, retrieval on it is next to impossible.
Oh, that's definitely a good thing to know.
Yeah. Your database is your most important component. You know, and that's why you want to, if you're making backups, you want to make sure you make a backup copy of the database. Always. All right. With all of that being said, we don't have much else to jabber and blather on about. Welcome to whoever showed up there as our third person today. Greatly appreciate you showing up for the show. If you like it, tell others about it. Share it out. Let others know all the great fun we have over here at WP Plugins A to Z. That being said, a little bit of music to carry us on out of here.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread. We're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
And there we have it, folks. That's all we got for you now. Until next week, take care now. Bye-bye.